coming back to, I think, the next phase of the planning that I think we need to start looking at, because there is other global factors that
Yeah.
come into play that hitherto, we've been able to manage these systems in isolation to what's happened, on the global scale.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think, one of the, I mean, in Victoria, I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but your politics is such that they're saying, well, we need to move to full electricity in the house. Now we've just had an incident, and I was lucky I survived. It was about 5 or 6 hours before the power got turned on. Whereas some people are still without power. You're talking about a week later. Well, not a week later. It's about 3 or 4 days later, and they're still waiting. They've been told it might be another week. Now suddenly you've gone from you're totally free. You're back in the Stone Age because you can't contact anyone. There's no internet. You can't do your business, especially as a small business. You're sitting in your home twiddling your thumbs. You think, what do I do? And then I've got these fools saying, well, we've got to convert to full electricity. You must be kidding, guys. You must be absolutely kidding. Why would we do it? And that's the other side of it too. Why would we do it? I mean, certainly in this house, we're going to stir crazy, and because we've had shutdowns, about 4 last year, throughout a working day, but there's been totally no power. They've just turned it off, as they say, to do maintenance, but it's not to do that. They're putting in bigger infrastructure for the growth of the area. But a day without power, no wonder they talk about mental capability at the end of the day, because you just can't stir crazy. But this incident was bad enough, and it was because of a storm. And you see the power lines all crumpled over like a heap. You seen those photos? All the
Yeah,
transmission lines. They're just gone.
absolutely. But I think you're picking up a good point about sustainability,
Mm,
and that if you have a look at sustainability, I think there are two layers to the conversation. I'll call them layers for the purpose of this discussion. But there's that layer whereby you can include in your asset management strategies the consideration of environmental costs, etc., and therefore you can make those incremental improvements to start moving in the direction. However, if you start taking into factor, performance metrics, which you didn't design to,
yep.
and we're talking about storms now. Well, I'm not aware that a lot of the infrastructure, including your houses, because I was recently said, well, your roof wouldn't have been designed for that storm event.
Mm,
That's why you've got leakage in your house. But if that can happen at the house level, it can also happen at the infrastructure level. So how do we account for these big events within budgets?
yeah.
I think there's that realization that is starting to happen, that you're going to have to spend money if you want to change the resilience of our networks. You can't just do that with the current budgets.
No.
So how do we take that challenge on with all the other pressures that are coming to bear on us? And I suppose that's reinforcing the uncertainty conversation, but it's also reinforcing that the plan of least regrets.
Yeah.
Because yes, we can say we want bills to stay the same, but then are we then also saying that we're happy with a 1 day of power out? So
That's
which
yeah.
is the regret we want?
Yeah.
Are we paying too much in electricity, or do we want to have deal with these big events?
Mm. Well, I think you're spot on in that case, because I remember in the 60s growing up, and, brownouts, as they called them, were as frequent as all hell. I remember running home from school to watch cartoons uh, um, between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. The power companies always seem to turn the power off between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock to alleviate the demand. Now we're in the same position. It's growing, but from different drivers. Our infrastructure is not being able to handle. In this instance, it was a storm, and it needs to be dealt with. We're going to have to revisit the standards of how things are designed, and the frequency of loading and all those sorts of things.
Yes.
It's going to happen, and it has to happen. And
Well, the sewers, etc.,
yeah,
were designed to the rain events that we're experiencing,
yeah,
and we've had some big rain events here in
mm,
Melbourne recently.
you certainly have. So, and to what frequency are you going to design to? Because these 1 in 1,000 year events are suddenly you get 3 in a year. You got to question the frequency of them.
And it's not that we're not paying for this anyway. We're already paying.
No,
It's called our insurance premiums.
yeah,
So which do you want, the end of pipe solution of your insurance premiums, or do you want fix the infrastructure?
yeah,
Unfortunately, we're the generation that will have to make that choice. But who's to say that all future generations are going to have the same thing? If it continues in the direction that it's happening, then it's only going to get worse.
yeah.
So therefore, yes, we may be able to sit there and say, why are we the unlucky people that have to do this? I'm not sure. I just think we're the first unlucky set of people.
Yeah, yeah. We came into a world of growth. Now I'm talking about whatever we are these days. I don't know what the what is it called? We're our age people. I'd like to say millennium, but we're not.
Well, young
Post-war.
might as well.
Post-war, post-war. So we had that growth, and we had those opportunities. The 60s, late 60s, 70s were all good to us. The 80s became a bit costly. 20% interest rates and all that sort of thing in the late 80s. While we were spending on capital, and now we're getting to the point. It's not the aging infrastructure that's predominantly the problem. It's the external factors that is the problem. And so we're not. A lot of the infrastructure may not even get anywhere close to what's been projected for the asset lives. And that's because things are changing, and it's changing quickly. In parallel to that, and we can change the topic now, in parallel to that, you've got changes in the tools we use. You got drones, they weren't even dreamt of 10 years ago. And now we've got drones. So instead of going up on a roof to inspect the roof, you send a drone up and get the cameras and all that sort of thing. So you got new tools, which should make it cheaper in the long run. You got AI. If you use it properly, in the long run, it should give you benefits. You get the end of the world stories. You use it as a tool, like anything else. You got to be wary of what it's telling you, but you use it as a tool, which means your efficiency can go up to deliver on the goods, and you can effectively reduce. On one side of the argument, you can potentially reduce the cost of the service you're providing as a consultant than the other side, where you've got to look at strengthening the assets and pushing the assets more and all the rest of it. So it's a balance. How balanced it is at the moment is not, but we're in a threshold, an exciting time for me, where if you sit there and use these things appropriately as a provider or consultant, you can do things a hell of a lot quicker, a lot less time.
I was I was reflecting on that the other day when I did my PhD. I used a particular algorithm called the genetic algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
I had to read the book from, I think it was the 70s, or the 80s. Take the the pseudocode and type it in.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can get onto Python. It's one line.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not fair. But I think I'd sort of highlight that a lot of these things have been around a long time. What AI, technically what I did is in my PhD is a subset of artificial intelligence.
Mm.
Like I said, that was in the 90s, and I was referencing papers from the 70s. What is changing is how cheaply we can get the data. You take the instance of a drone,
Yeah.
your sensors, etc. So that's accelerating. It's becoming cheaper as well, and you're also, because we're getting more data and big data and the whole analytics
Yeah.
thing. We now have or having the systems which can start moving that data faster and making it more available. I think that the next big challenge is, sitting around that stream is a lot of spot solutions. How are we going to, consolidate that? Because you speak to some infrastructure companies, and I'm talking bigger ones, they've got 200 to 300 applications.
Yeah.
That's an awful amount of capability that you have to build to
Yeah.
support that, and then you end up, and that's why I think there are, and we coined the phrase islands of information and capabilities that sit around the organization.
Yeah.
All all taking their own particular interpretation of the data. And I think that now that we've sort of got the technology to get the data and we can manage it, how do we and how will the industry respond to that consolidation and to try and reduce the specialist capabilities and the numbers of them that they're going to maintain, and can we standardize it, and how far we can standardize it?
Yeah. Enjoyed this video? Press the like button and subscribe. If you'd like to see more, please click on the Patreon link below and sign up.